And we're continuing with the first chapter of The Pearl at the Soul of the World, which is called Pearllight. Paused at the paragraph break, which I really didn't need to because this is a very quick chapter, but we just had an introduction of someone with a glowing thing around her neck, wearing a wedding sari, in a cave, very hungry. That's all we know. The sound of water came to her, distant, a lapping plash. She stumbled into a run. The endless twisting corridor opened abruptly into a lighted chamber. A tiny stream cut through it, barely a handspan wide. In a bed 30 paces across, a mighty river had flowed here once in ages past. Reduced now to a mere trickle, its clear, clean brilliance played across the cavern's ceiling and walls. The pale girl fell to her knees beside the stream and plunged her hand into its light. It was warm as lamp oil. She hadn't realized how she was shivering in the cool, dry air. Desperately, she licked the delicious drops from her fingers, savory, full of minerals. The water tasted like crushed herbs. She knew there must be an easier way to drink, but she could not remember how. The trickling stream held her whole attention, so that she did not even notice the others standing in the chamber until the young one dropped his pick. The sound rang sharp as a silver pin. The pale girl started up, water dripping from her forearms, and stared at the three people gazing curiously at her. They were very short, only a little over half as tall as she, and were dressed in trousers and sarks with many pockets. The two men wore caps. Their leader seemed to be a woman whose fair, silver-coppery hair fell in 4 thick braids, one before, one behind each ear. She stood upstream, hands on hips. The younger of her companions hastily caught up his pick. "Reckon it's dangerous." "Maruha," the boy asked. The woman shook her head. "Can't say. Brandel, an upperlander from under the sky. By the look, if I remember my learning." She cocked her head and studied the girl. The upperlander stared back, wide-eyed, afraid to move. The squat little woman's eyes were the color of dark gray stones. "But what's it doing so far underground?" the young one, Brandel, asked. "Witch's work," the older man murmured, stroking his beard. "Could be the witch's work." "Bite your tongue, Colum, you old fool." Maruha turned to him. "None of hers could ever get down here. We've wards." "That one got through," the bearded one answered. "Perhaps only the first of many. We've known for a long time the end must come." "Enough," hissed Maruha with a glance at Brandel. "You'll frighten the boy." The pale girl watched them, her heart banging painfully against her ribs. She had seen such a creature once before, a little man with stone-gray eyes. The fragment of memory needled her, merciless, then vanished. The woman took a step toward her. "You, Upperlander, who are you?" she called. The other flinched. She wanted to answer, but her throat tightened till she could hardly breathe. She managed, choking. A thin wail threaded past her lips. Her head pounded. She stopped whimpering. "Can't speak," a bearded Colin breathed. "Witch's work." "Look how thin," Brandel said, bolder now. He pointed, taking a step close to Maruha. "Cheeks all sunken in." Colin snorted. "All the Upperlanders look that way, spindly as spiders." "Nonsense!" Maruha exclaimed. "She's done in. Look at her hair and the dirt on her face." She came a few paces closer. "Girl, can you understand me?" The Upperlander tensed, ready to run, but she didn't want to leave the water. A kind of shriek issued from her lips. She understood, but she could not answer. But look at her robe," Brandel whispered, fear sharpening his voice suddenly. "Fine yellow stuff and not a rip or smudge. It shines, almost, like ghost cloth." His companions stared, and the three of them drew back. The pale girl's knees gave. She sank down, unable to go another step. Colin gripped his pick and pushed past Maruha and Brandel. "She's the witch's work, I tell you, and the sooner done with, the better." "No!" Maruha cried, catching Colin's arm. "She was drinking from the stream. None that serve the witch can abide clean water's touch." Colin hesitated, lowering his arm. He glanced at Maruha. "Marvels, I grant you, as yet unexplained, and her coming here may indeed be witch's work." Maruha insisted. "But I do not believe that she is witch's work, or that she means us any harm." The girl sat on the sand, not looking at them. She no longer had the strength to lift her head. She heard Brandel edging closer to the other two. "There's blood in her hair," he whispered. "Look." "You see," snapped Maruha, giving Colum a shake. "That is why she cannot speak." She took his pick from him roughly and thrust it into her own belt. Turning from him, she softened her voice. "Here, girl, you're hurt." Moving closer, she continued. "We are Daro's, child. Let us help you." The pale girl felt the little woman parting the hair just behind her ear and started. She batted at the square nubbly hands, feebly. Once gently, the Duro's touch returned. "You needn't fear us, Soothe. What's this? Colum, Brandel, look, there's something here behind the ear, jabbed in through the very bone." The three crowded around her then. She did not look up. She gazed at the sand, at the warm, fragrant water laying beyond her reach now. She longed for it. Sweet Ravenna," the young one, Brandel exclaimed. "It's a silver pin." "All mucked with blood," that was Maruha. "Witchery," muttered Colum. "I can't quite," Maruha began. The girl felt a shooting pain behind her ear and screamed. With a gasp, the Duro woman jerked her hand away as the Upperlander pitched to the sand, covering her head with her arm, shrieking. They mustn't touch it. No one must touch it. She herself must never so much as lay a finger on the beautiful and terrible silver pin. Maruha sat down upon the sand, cradling her head. "Lawns, an ancient lady," she panted, flexing her fingers and then shaking her head. "But that thing is witch's work and no mistake. It's cold, colder than shadow." "It hasn't harmed you?" Brandel said anxiously. "No, I only brushed it. Lucky. Soothe, we must take this child back to the others when we finish our circuit." "Fie, no," Colum protested. "If she's witched, she mustn't come within leagues of our last hidden hold." "Oh, be still," Maruha growled, getting to her feet, dusting the sand from her. "The child is starving and thirsting and in need of our help." Help, the word reminded the pale girl of something. Something. She remembered the face of the young man again, lit only by starlight, half turned from her. "You cannot help me," he whispered. "I can love no mortal woman while the White Witch lives." "Help, help me," she wanted to cry, but the pin robbed her of speech as well as of memory. The young man's image faded even as she groped for it. She buried her face in her arms and wept. Maruha bent to touch her. "Come, child," she said softly. "Come with us." The girl lay unmoving, spent. Nothing made sense. She was so weary. She wanted only to rest. Maruha took her by the arm and hauled her upright. "Help me, Colum," she panted. We'll have to carry her." The bearded Duro remained where he was, arms folded. It was Brandel who came and took the Upperlander's other arm. He smelled of grease and candle wax. The scent made her stomach twist and clench. She was so famished. She felt she might swoon. Maruha glared at Colum. "Suit yourself," she snapped. "I do not know who this child is or why she wears the witch's pin, but I do know that it marks her as no friend to our great enemy, and by the ancient Lady Ravenna, I mean to get it out." And that is the end of chapter 1.